Hello again, another job on the Ferrari California. This time it's replacing the two main belts on the engine, the water pump belt and the serpentine belt. The one thing I would tell you about this job is don't attempt it unless you've got the car up in the air on a lift. I really don't think there's any way you could do this job having it on axle stands. You could try, but the access is very, very limited. So limited that actually to try and video this was very, very challenging. So I'm going to show you it on diagrams and then just point out a few of the challenges that you will have as you go through the job. So first of all, let's take a look at the tools that we're going to need to do this job. There are several, as I say. You're going to need a little device here. This is the removal tool to get the water pump off, the water pump belt off, and then you're going to need one to actually install it. I bought these off Amazon. They were less than 10 bucks, like $8.95 or $9.95 or something. You're also going to need this kind of lever bar here, which is about $35. Again, you can get it on Amazon if you want to get it there. And I bought a couple of additional tools just to help reposition the belt once I'd got it off. There's kind of this tool here, which you kind of, it's got like a little grab on the end. If I press it there, you can see that it will actually nip onto the belt, whereas this one is more of a fixed item. Quite honestly, neither of them were great. Not because of the tools themselves, just purely and simply because of the access, which is so limited when you're doing the job. You're also going to need a 36mm socket, and I'll show you what that's for in a second, but basically it's going to be to attach around the main crankshaft pulley so you can turn that pulley to get the water pump belt off and on. And then the last thing is just going to be an array of different sockets. Obviously that's a 36mm. In order to release the tensioner, which I'll go into in a second, to get the main serpentine belt off, you need a 15mm socket, which is you're going to attach to this bar. But you're also going to need a whole host of different like extensions. Again, I'll go into why that is in a second. Okay, now to the actual job of removing and refitting the two belts. From an order perspective, you're going to take the water pump belt off first, then you're going to take the serpentine belt off, and then when you come back to fitting them, the serpentine belt will go on, and then the water pump belt will go on. The logic for that, if you look at this diagram here, is that you cannot take the serpentine belt off whilst the water pump belt is still in position. I've actually taken these pages out of the workshop manual. I have a copy of that downloaded onto my computer. You'll probably be able to get it off a Ferrari forum. It's an excellent document. It's about 2,000 pages long. The only thing I couldn't find in it was an index. But there is a search facility on it, so if you search for, in this instance, water pump belt, serpentine belt, you will find it. And once you get into the kind of a particular area, you can see here A312, I think, is where those belts are. I think they actually call it an auxiliary belt, not a serpentine belt. But anyway, you'll be able to navigate around it. It really is a super document. And what I've done here, I've just taken a few prints just to try and illustrate the actual job. The reason I did that, as I think I've already mentioned, the access to this particular job is really difficult to get in there and to try and film it at the same time as I was doing it. You needed someone else. I needed someone else with me to be able to do that. But even if I did, you wouldn't see very much because it is so restrictive in terms of the actual access. But that doesn't stop you from doing the job, obviously. It just doesn't make it particularly easy. Anyway, Ferrari have actually shown this picture here. The engine is outside of the engine bay, So I think they can show you it with a more illustrative view of actually how to do the job. So when it comes to taking this belt off, you can obviously cut it if you want to. You can cut this one as well if you want to. I mean, that's your choice to make. I chose to take them off, so I took the little removal tool. You're actually going to fit it. And if you're not sure how to use these, there are videos on YouTube that show you how to actually use these particular items on a pulley, so I won't go into that, but it's kind of intuitive. It'll only sort of fit in one particular direction if you want to remove or install a belt. So back to the job itself. You're going to fit it inside the or on the pulley around about the 5 o'clock position, and then you're going to put your 36mm socket in here, and then you're going to start and turn it clockwise, so this direction, and then what you'll find is this little tool will move around the pulley to around about the 1 o'clock position, and by the time you get it there, you'll find that the belt will just come straight off. I mean, they're really pretty useful tools. I'll go through refitting it again, just to remind you, you're going to refit this belt after you've fitted the serpentine belt, but just from a continuity perspective, when it comes to installing the new belt, you're actually going to put it onto this pulley first, then you're going to fit your install tool, this thing, and you're going to fit it around about here at the 11 o'clock position, and then you're going to turn this again clockwise, and it's going to come out, or it's going to have the belt installed around about the 7 o'clock position. And then what I did is I gave it another 90 to 100 degrees turn, just to make certain this thing was nicely seated in the middle of the pulleys. Okay, so let's assume, go back, we've got this belt off, and now we're going to try and take the serpentine belt off. Utilizing this tool, okay, I'm just going to show you here. This was the width that I needed, so I guess my socket there is probably around about inch and 3/8, something like that, plus the little adapter socket in here. So overall, probably around about 2.25 inches. The reason for telling you that is that your access is limited, so you're going to need to figure out what sockets you've got, what width you need to get the 15mm socket on here, and it kind of goes in the direction. The only place you're actually going to get this bar in here to actually move this this tension pulley is on about this angle. I will show you it in a second so you can see where I positioned it to do it. Once you've got your bar in, you'll have enough movement to turn it anti-clockwise, and you're probably going to get about 90-degree turn on it. Then you'll hit like part of the support in the engine area. You won't be able to move it any further, but you can move it enough that you can release the tension off this belt, and you will remove the belt, start to remove the belt from the bottom of this black pulley. It will come off. As I say, you'll have enough slack in there to get it off. Once you've got it off here, you'll have enough play to be able to remove the belt. You can use those tools that I showed you earlier on to try and hook it and bring it down. I was able to actually get this off just by getting my hand inside, grabbing the two sides of the belt here, and then just kind of like move it off these pulleys, and then I could pull it out. There is a little bit of a challenge here, which I'll try and show you, is that once you've got this bar in this position, you've got about 1/4 inch gap between the bar and this pulley, and you will be able to get the belt off. You can't really take the bar off, and I will show you that in a second, because the tension, as soon as the tension's off here, this thing is going to move the bar to the left-hand side, and it's going to jam up against the chassis of the car. Now, you could try and move it back, but it's under tension, and trying to move it back under tension and get the socket off there. The only way you could do that is to try and put your hand in there and try and grab that socket and I just couldn't do that. Didn't even want to try it because I don't know how far that thing would go back. That could I actually get the socket back on it and put it back in position? So that's something to be aware of. As I say, you can actually complete the job as I've just described, but you're not going to have an awful lot of room between where this bar is positioned and the edge of this pulley. But there is enough to get the belt out. Okay, refitting. I started by putting the belt around this pulley and then kind of maneuvered it in position and pushed it up, and that's where I did use the tool. I took that little kind of like forked long 3-foot tool or whatever it is, managed to get it in there well enough that I could just get this hooked over the top, and then once I'd done that, the rest of it was just like playing around with it until you've got it exactly into the position that's shown on this diagram. And you know, hopefully even if you don't have this page, there's enough on here for you to see it. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pulleys effectively that this is going around, and obviously you've got to get it around and seat it well in the center of the pulleys so that the belt is appropriately positioned. One of the things that's worth mentioning is that this belt has an arrow on it when you get your new belt. Shows you the direction, which is this direction. That's the way it goes around. This belt doesn't have an arrow on it, but what I did is I just put it back on in exactly the same position as the old one. So just take note of that when you're taking the water pump belt off. Okay, so that's kind of the job. I'm now going to show you where I position both the tension bar for this tension socket and my actual socket set when I was winding this particular pulley in the directions to get the water pump belt off and on. Okay, let me show you that. So here is where I position the bar in terms of putting it on the tensioner. So you can see that's pretty much going to be the angle you're going to get. So if you're actually trying to move that, whether it's to the from left to right, so that when you're removing the tension off the tensioner itself, you're going to be restricted by that 45-degree bar that you can see there. But it is enough in order to get enough tension off the tensioner that you can get the serpentine belt off. However, when you've got the belt off, that tensioner wants to go and take this bar all the way to the left-hand side. And if I just go up just to show you here, this is then going to move in this direction and it's going to stick against the chassis of the car. And as I mentioned to you earlier on, if you actually try to get it off, so you would give yourself a little bit more space between the crankshaft pulley and this bar when you come to taking the belt off, you could certainly try and do that, but I wasn't prepared to do that because I wasn't sure I could actually get this bar back onto the tensioner in doing so. If I show you, if I can kind of get the camera up and get a light in there, you can just about see there's maybe, hopefully you can see it, there's probably about ½ an inch between the edge of the pulley and the bar itself, so that when you come to take the serpentine belt off, you can actually get it off. It's just a little difficult, but you can certainly do it. So the second thing I want to show you is that when it comes to turning this pulley to get the water pump belt both on and off, I probably need to take this out. Okay, your access here is quite limited. You know, you've got all sorts of hydraulic hoses and bars and goodness knows what in here that just makes it quite difficult to get your 36mm socket, which is going in the middle of that pulley there. That's where the big nut is. And then you're trying to turn this thing clockwise to get that tool to get the belt both on and off. And I want to show you what I did in order to get that to work. So here's the setup and the position that I actually used. Hopefully this will focus in. So I've got the 36mm socket inside on the nut right now. Then I was able just to put enough extensions on here that I could get this thing so I could actually get the leverage on it to turn the pulley. And it does take quite a lot of force to move this, especially when you're putting that tool on this pulley. It's not so bad when you're putting it on the water pump pulley to get it off, but this thing just puts more pressure on it, puts more force on it to actually get it to turn around. But you're going to need to figure out with your socket extensions so you can actually just got enough space so it's not hitting against this strut on the engine here, or it's not hitting against this hydraulic bar, which I think is what that is, when you're trying to provide enough force to move it. And the other thing you're going to do is make certain that this is nice and horizontal and central so that the nut, your socket, is not coming off the nut. I just wanted to show you the belts that I used for this job and the part numbers for them. So this one here is the water pump belt. I believe this is the part number 214271. The good news is that this belt is actually used on the Maserati Gran Turismo and is interchangeable. I've got both this belt and the serpentine belt, or auxiliary belt as Ferrari refer to it, off eBay. I actually paid maybe $40 for this one, 45, and I think I paid 55 for this one. So, you know, what is that? About $100, give or take. No, not particularly expensive. I think the part number for this isn't actually on the belt. These numbers here just look like a production run number. The part number is 250070. At least I think that's what it is. So yeah, those are the two pieces of material that you're going to need to do the job. Right, so that's the job. It took me about 2.5 to 3 hours to do it. Access is not great, but it is possible. Obviously, I was able to do it. If I can do it, anyone can do it. Those pictures are going to really help you just for the orientation, particularly of the auxiliary belt. And again, apologies, I wasn't really able to get the camera inside the engine bay to show you what I was doing, but if you do try and attempt this job, you'll understand immediately what I mean. Even if I had someone else to hold the camera for me, you just wouldn't see enough. It's just too restricted. So I hope this helps. I wasn't able to find a video of anyone changing these belts on the Ferrari California out there on YouTube, which is why I wanted to post this one, that if you do decide to go ahead and do it, that it'll help you. And as I mentioned in a previous video I'd done, I mean, if this does take 2 to 3 hours to do, I'm not really sure what a Ferrari dealer or any reputable dealer would charge you, but it's going to certainly be an awful lot more than the $100 and so that it cost me just to buy the belts and do the job myself. I have started the engine up, spun up great, no problems. I've taken it for a test drive. Everything seems fine with it. So there it is. Hope this has been helpful. And I look forward to doing another video for you and hope you'll find that one as helpful too. Thanks very much. Bye.